Okay, so today is Rosh Chodesh Shvat. It's amazing that we're learning this teaching on Rosh Chodesh because it's about sanctifying the new month. So it's very appropriate to learn it today. Also, today is the yahrzeit of my great grandmother Rachaleah Bas Aharon Popak, her neshama shaven aliyah. Okay, so here we go. What happened when the Beis Hamikdash was standing? There was the Beis Din. And if there were two witnesses that witnessed the moon, they would come to the Beis Din, they would come to the court. The court would ask them different questions to make sure that they really saw the moon, not just a piece of a cloud or something. And then they would be Makadish, they would sanctify the new month. And that was the process of when a new month began, which is very, very important because if I know when is Aleph, then I know when is Yodalid, then I know when is Pesach, and all the holidays, all Yom Tovim are all based on when the month begins. And the holidays have a lot of mitzvahs and details that are associated with them. For example, on Pesach, we're not allowed to eat chametz. So so sanctifying the new month is very important. That way we should know when Pesach is, because I have to know when Pesach is to know when I'm not allowed to have chametz, because if I do have chametz on Pesach, then there is a huge problem, because if we eat chametz on Pesach, then welcome. You're amazing, Razy. Thank you so much.
Feel inspired.
Oh,
I had all the ingredients, so.
thank you so much.
And not have Bila. Is that funny? Of course, not as good.
I'm sure
It's good.
Because you are.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daisy.
Thank you so much. So there's actually, if a person, God forbid, eats chametz on Pesach, then there's a problem because they could get this punishment called kares, which means they're cut off from the Jewish people. And the same applies to Yom Kippur. If a person eats in Yom Kippur, then there's also this punishment of kares. So therefore, it is so, so important to know when Rosh Chodesh is, because everything is based on it. And the Jewish people, how do we, our calendar is a lunar calendar, and we go by the months. And every month is 29 and a half days. And what would happen if nobody came, if there were no witnesses? Then since a cycle is 29 and a half days, then if on the 30th day, no witnesses showed up, then the 31st day is automatically the first of the next month, because it can't be more than 29 and a half days. It will be impossible. And then what happened was, there was Hillel Hasheni. I guess it was the Hillel, one Hillel and then a second Hillel, that established a calendar, a 19-year calendar. And through all the calculations, they figured out when everything will come out. So today, we don't have a temple, we don't have Beis Hamikdash, we don't have the Beis Din, but we do have a calendar, and that's how we know when to celebrate all the holidays, etc., and when Rosh Chodesh comes out. Every 19 years, the solar calendar, which is what the rest of the world uses, and the lunar calendar matches up. And just so interesting, my husband was born exactly 19, he's 19 years older than his baby brother. They were born on they have the same birthday, the same Hebrew birthday, and the same English birthday, because exactly 19 years apart. So it's Chav Tishrei, October 20th. It's very, very good, very cool birthday present. My husband's the oldest and the youngest. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, international English birthdays.
Every time the same. Back in 19 years.
Yeah. So he said he was in yeshiva and there was no cell phones then. So he got a message. His mother had a baby. So he quickly went to the phone to call to find out, was the baby born before Shkia or after Shkia, to find out if he had the same birthday or not. Okay.
Will
Now-
that be in the 19 years then?
That's a
Do we
good
know?
question.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not sure. Okay. The Beis Din also had another job. Not only did they have to establish the new month, but they also had to figure out should this year be a leap year or not. Because if we only go by the moon, I'm saying if we didn't take into account the sun, then what would happen is how would Pesach always fall out in the spring? Because the solar calendar is 365 days, and the lunar calendar, if I take 12 times 29 and a half, then I'm going to either get 354 or 355. So, and how do we know this? Because if you want to know how many days are in a Jewish year, do the gematria of Shana. What's Shana? Shin is 400. Shin is 400. Nun is 50.
300.
Okay, sorry. Shin is, thank you. Shin is 300. Nun is 50. And Hey is 5. So 355. So 354, 355. That's if I take 12 months times 29 and a half. But if it's a leap year, then it would be 385. Taking to add another 30 days. And a solar year, going by the sun, is 365. So now I'm 10 days. There's a discrepancy of 10 days. So if I
Years, it's gonna be like,
Why?
yeah, so every year Pesach is going to be pushed back 10
That's
days.
why the Ramadan, the Arabs or the Muslims, because they go
Yeah.
on by the moon, because it's always different seasons.
Right. So, but Pesach,
Or by the moon. Ramadan, the holiday, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like moves.
There's moves?
Yeah, because they go only by the moon. They don't ever leap year.
right. So that's so amazing that the Jewish calendar actually takes into consideration both. Okay, so we're going to, excellent question. We're going to answer it. Yeah, we're going to get there. Okay, so we need to take into we need to take the solar calendar into consideration so that Pesach should always be in the spring. So every 2-3 years, the Beis Din's part of their job is to add another month, which is called a Iber Yar. Iber means pregnant, to add extra. Okay. So how does this connect to this week's parsha? This week's parsha is Parsha's Boy. And in this week's parsha, we are given the very first commandment to the Jewish people, and that is HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. This month is for you, Rosh Chadashim, the head of all months. Rishon Hu Lachem, it's the first for you, L'Chodshei Hashana, for all the months of the year. We're talking about Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and this is actually the first mitzvah that we're given as a Jewish people. So you're going to say, oh, what about Avram? He had a bris milah. What about Yaakov, who was hit by the angel? And then there's a Gid Hanasha that we're not allowed to eat. So that is true, but those mitzvahs were given to individual people. It wasn't given to the nation as a whole, and later on, it is repeated for the rest of us as a nation. For example, the mitzvah of bris milah we find later on in Parshas Tazria. So when it's given to Abraham, it was given to Avram as an individual, and later, and that's not when we learn about bris milah in Parshas in the beginning of the Chumash. What is it? The end of Lach Lecha, right? That's not when it is a commandment for us. That we get that later on. So the very first mitzvah that the Jewish people are given is to sanctify the new moon. Yeah.
Before or after Muslim?
Before.
Before. So
Yeah.
it's the first one before.
Yeah. So Parshas Boy, the gematria is 3. That's the last 3 makos.
Yeah.
And this is before the Yidden are going out of Mitzrayim. Okay.
That Rashi said, the Chumash you started, there's a Chodesh, Mitzvah Chodesh.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent
Bereshit,
question.
right?
This is exactly where we're headed. Rashi asked the
With
question,
Rashi, yeah.
what is the Torah? The Torah is a book of instruction. So if Kiddush HaChodesh, to sanctify the new moon, is the first mitzvah, shouldn't that be the first thing that we launch the Torah with? Should start the Torah with HaChodesh HaZelachem, the very first mitzvah. Why are we starting the Torah with Bereshis Bar Elokim? Hashem created the world. So Rashi gives an answer. Seemingly, it's a side reason, but later on we're going to see how it really is a very good reason. But seemingly, what does it say? The reason why we have to have Bereshis Bar Elokim first is that when the nations of the world will come and they'll say, you are robbers for living in Eretz Yisrael, we should say to them, Hashem created the world, right? Because before the Jewish people came to Eretz Yisrael, other people were living there. The Canaanim were living there. So they could say, oh, you're robbers, you're thieves. We were living here first. And then you come and you just take over. So what's our response? Bereshis Bar Elokim. Hashem is the one who created the world. And Hashem decided to take it from the people of Canaan and to give it to the Jewish people. Hashem is in charge. He created the world. He decided that at this point in history, the Jewish people should come and get this land. We are not thieves. Because Hashem is the one that created the world, He took it from them and He gave it to us. That's why we start the Torah with Bereshis, for the whole world to know that Eretz Yisrael, that Hashem created the world for us, and that Eretz Yisrael is ours. Bereshis.
I don't understand. Isn't there a portion about Hashem telling you even to fight the Canaanim and go fight them and take the land? Wouldn't that be more appropriate? If we want to prove to the world that Hashem gave us a land?
So there's no reason to even go there, because Bereshis, there's a big bays. And what we learn from that is Beis Rashis. Hashem created the world for two firsts.
Right, but no one knows that. Like, it's not written in stone. It's like, it's not written in the Pusik. We know it. It's just not.
It's a-
Yes.
You mean it's a pirush?
It's a, yeah.
We used to always say like, what, everything is in your bays and bracelets, we say it all the time. Whatever's gonna happen, it's gonna be, because it's in the bays of bracelets.
Yeah. So you're asking an excellent question, and this Sicha is going to answer your question also. A lot of times, Chabad rabbis, or any rabbi or anyone, you get this question, don't tell me what the sages said. I want to know what the Torah says. Don't mix in the sages. We're going to address that. So we're going to see that Torah Shebechsav, the written Torah, comes together with and is one with Torah Shebal Peh. It's not two separate things. And if it's not written in the Torah,
Vegetable and sages is two different things.
That's what they mean when they say sages.
Not say Torah Shabbat is the Musa, not a
so Torah Shebal Peh, where did Torah Shebal Peh come from? It came from the Chachamim, it came from the sages, the Rishonim, the Acharonim, the Tanaim, the Amayraim, the Gemara, everything like that. That's all included. Everything that's not written, Torah Shebechsav, is Torah Shebal Peh. So point in case, we're gonna learn and we're gonna see. Okay, no problem. We're going to learn and we're going to see how there's so much more than just what is written. And, the first thing is also that we should know for ourselves,
Right.
to have the confidence for ourselves before everyone else, to understand that this land belongs to us. Yeah. Okay, that's an excellent question. Okay, so going back, what are we saying? Why, if Kiddush HaChodesh, which is to sanctify the new moon, is the first mitzvah, why does the Torah actually start with Bereshis Bara Elokim, Hashem created the world? And we said, because we need to, the first thing we need to know is that Hashem is the Baal Bas, Hashem is in charge of the world, and the ownership, in order to teach that the ownership of Eretz Yisrael belongs to the Jewish people. We're going to go back to this later, and we're going to understand how interconnected and interrelated this concept of Hashem creating the world and this concept of sanctifying the new moon, how it's one and the same. We're going to get there. Okay, but now we have another question. If Kiddush HaChodesh, if sanctifying the new moon is the first mitzvah, okay, you want to answer me why it's not in the beginning of the Torah? Okay, we could handle that. We'll discuss that. But there are many commentators that have listed what are the 613 mitzvahs. They have enumerated what they are, and they list them in order. For example, the Rambam. For example, the Sefer HaChinuch. They write down what are the 613 mitzvahs. And the Rambam and the Sefer HaChinuch, do they list the first mitzvah as sanctifying the new moon? They do not. What do they say is the first mitzvah? What's the first mitzvah? Anochi Hashem Elokecha. The first mitzvah is Leida Sheyesh Eloka, to know that there is a God. Welcome, welcome. Shenemar, as it says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am God, your God. Come sit, come join us. No problem.
No problem.
My neighbors.
Welcome.
We know each other. And you heard this Jacoby.
Hello. Okay, thank you for coming. Okay, so just to recap, in this week's Parsha, we learn about sanctifying the new moon, Kiddush HaChodesh. This is actually the very first mitzvah that the Jewish people were given as a nation. That Rosh Chodesh Nisan, that is the first month for the Jewish people, and we know that B'chlal, we go according to the moon. So if this is the very first mitzvah that the Jewish people are given, then number one, why don't we start the entire Torah with it? And number two, why doesn't the Rambam list sanctifying the new moon as the first mitzvah? What does he say? What is the Rambam when they list? What are the 613 mitzvahs? What the Rambam does is before he writes his Sefer, the Yad HaChazaka, 14 books, he first lists the 613 mitzvahs, one line per mitzvah. And what does he say the first mitzvah is? The first mitzvah is to know that there is a God. As it says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am God, your God. And it says that this mitzvah, to know that there is a God, is the foundation of all the foundations and is the pillar of all wisdom. Why? Because if I don't believe that there's a God, then why would I do any mitzvahs? First, I have to establish that there's an Eibishter, that there's whom to serve, and then I could start fulfilling his mitzvahs. That's why when it comes to practice, when it comes to observance, which mitzvah comes first? The first mitzvah is to believe in God. And that's why the Rambam was a book of halacha, of how a yid is supposed to behave, how a yid is supposed to act. The first mitzvah for a yid is to know if there's Eibishter. That's why when the Rambam lists 613, his first thing is know if there's Eibishter. Because until I know there's the Eibishter, can't ask me to serve or do anything until I believe that there's a God. So Rashi and the Rambam are not arguing. It's not that the Rambam says, oh, the first mitzvah is no God. And Rashi says, oh, the first mitzvah is to sanctify the new moon. They're not arguing. Rambam is right. The first mitzvah for a person, which is called Gavra, the person, the first mitzvah for the person is to know that there's a God. But if you want to know what is the first, that's from the perspective of the person. But if you want to know from the perspective of Torah, if you want to know what is the first mitzvah written down in the Torah, and what is the first, what is the Torah considered to be the first mitzvah? That is the mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon.
One's like a doing thing, one's a belief thing?
One is on the person. One is on the person, and the other one is if you want to know which mitzvah is most fundamental, is most fundamental in understanding what the goal of mitzvahs are in general, understanding our mission, understanding our purpose, that is going to be Kiddush HaChodesh. There's something so foundational, so essential in the mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon that it's called the first mitzvah because it's going to tell us so much about how we're supposed to observe all the other mitzvahs. There's something so wow. My husband taught this morning in seminary, and he said how amazing it is that every time, this is a teaching of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and every time he speaks about something, that mitzvah or that concept is the most amazing thing. And he's like, you know, that, and he says that my husband learns Rambam every single morning. He wakes up at 6 a.m. and he has a chavrusa. No matter what time he went to sleep, 6 a.m. That's it. And he says the hardest halachos to learn are the halachos of Kiddush HaChodesh, of sanctifying the new moon. Because it doesn't just talk about the moon, it talks about the sun, and it's a math, and it's astrology, and it's very complicated. Some people are very smart and they know it, but a lot of other people, they'll read it, they'll try to understand it, but it's very, very difficult. And also, you come to these halachas and you think, this is not relevant to me because we have a calendar in the drawer, like what do I need this for? But the Rebbe is going to come and show and highlight how special this mitzvah is, that it's going to teach us about all the other mitzvahs and how incredible it is. And it's so incredible that we're learning the Armesh Chodesh, which is a day that is sanctified. This is a day that if we were living, and God willing, we shall have Mashiach today, that this is a day that would have been then and is now, because of the calendar, sanctified and so holy and so special. Okay. Just to go back 1 second, when we said that first you have to believe that there's a God, and then there's the mitzvahs. We see this in Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. First, you have to first have Kabbalas Ol, accept upon yourself the oneness of God, and then V'hayam Shemaya. Then the next paragraph is already talking about mitzvahs. But first we have to accept Hashem as our king. And then we could accept upon ourselves his mitzvahs. Okay. So how is this mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon? What's so special about it? What's so great about it? There are 3 points. Number 1, from this mitzvah we learn how Torah was given. The manner in which the Torah was given. Okay, what does that mean? The Ibn Ezra has a big question. This mitzvah, so 1-line mitzvah, that, you know, this is the Rosh Chodesh Nisan, this is the head of all the months, but it gives us no other information. It doesn't say that a cycle of a moon is 20.5 days. It doesn't tell you what to do if it's Pesach, but it's not the spring. It doesn't give you any details whatsoever. And this mitzvah is so fundamental because without Rosh Chodesh, we have no idea when to observe any of the holidays and all the mitzvahs that are part of it, all the holidays. So it's so important to know what Rosh Chodesh is, and yet the Torah says nothing. There is no details, nothing. Contrast that to tzaras, for example, person who has leprosy, an individual person And in those days, leprosy it affected a few people. And yet,
Few people spoke Russian.
for one individual, for two individuals to go into all the colors, and the hair sprouted and it didn't sprout, and the kayin this and the kayin that, tons and tons of details. And also, tsaras, it only applied to a short amount of time in history. So for a very short amount of history, for a very short amount of time in history, and for just a few select people, then we have a whole big deal. But when you're talking about something that applies to every single Jew, for every single generation, here, not one detail. The Ibn Ezra asks this. And the answer is that from this mitzvah, we have proof. Malki, this is your answer. Okay. From this mitzvah is proof that there is so much more to Torah than what you see in Torah Shebachsav.
You need the Mefarshim, you need the.
Yes,
It's not the
Torah.
You need
Torah was given with Torah Shebachsav. The written Torah is given with Torah Shebal Peh. It's one thing.
Meaning that all the details were already given at Matan Torah, is that what you said?
Yes, all it was given Matan Torah, and then the way Torah is given is that Torah gives us the responsibility, the Yidden, the responsibility to flush it out and to delve into it and to figure out what all the things mean. For example, Lo sevashel gedi b'chalev imay, right? Don't cook a gid. I'm sorry. Don't cook a goat, a kid. Thank you, in its mother's milk. Okay. So if you say, "Oh, I'm only listening to the written Torah," so it doesn't say anywhere where I can't have a cheeseburger, right? But guess what? Who's to say that it's Lo sevashel gedi b'chalev imay? Don't cook a kid in its mother's milk. Maybe it's Lo sevashel gedi b'chalev imay. Maybe it's don't cook a kid in its mother's fat. Even the vowels, because Torah doesn't have vowels, even the vowels are learned out from the sages. And the favorite thing that my husband likes to say when people say, "Oh, don't talk to me about the sages. I only want to know what it says in the written Torah." Guess what? The concept of going to shul. Do you know where that came from? The sages. You're not going to find anywhere in the Torah a concept of going to shul.
Minyan also, minyan.
So, exactly. So I'm saying you have other, not to concentrate on labels, but I'm saying, you have conservative reform where the shul, going to shul is the most important thing, but yet don't tell me about the sages. So what are you doing here in the first place if you don't believe in the sages? So Torah, the way Torah is given is in a way, it's very important for us to know that the way Torah is given is not just the written Torah. The oral Torah is equally one with the written Torah. And for us to have that faith, that is what we learn, what we have to learn from this very first mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon, because there is zero details in the written Torah about what to do, how to do. That all it says is sanctify for yourself the months of the year and start from the Chodesh Nisan, and that's it. How should we do it? Witnesses doesn't say anything. Doesn't say anything about it in the written Torah. So there has to be a guidebook that comes with the written Torah to explain it, and that is Torah Shebal Peh. And so this mitzvah highlights the fact that Torah Shebal Peh is one with Torah Shebachsav, and that people of flesh and blood, Hashem gives us the power to make decisions, and whatever whatever Basin says, that's what goes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Midaraisa, midarabana. Midaraisa is more strict. Supposedly not really. They say midarabanan is even stricter. What is midarabanan? What is midaraisa? When you're saying Torah Shabbat, Torah Shabbat Peh.
Exactly.
That's what is it.
Rabbanan is Shabbat.
Right, we need both, obviously.
There really shouldn't be any. If Baal Peh was given the same time, there's really no difference at all. It's one and the same.
But Sheba'al Peh, it's like the halachos, is much like a geder. They took the halacha,
Or some of it sometimes.
it's
is
a geder, like to
a
keep
gate,
you away,
okay.
so
A
they,
boundary.
yeah,
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Again,
But to be able to understand what the written Torah even means,
Right.
I need the sages.
Absolutely.
Where should the tefillin be? Between my eyes? It's not between my eyes. It's on the forehead in the middle. So
Torah first, it's not even like, explainable. It's not, only with the Torah Shabbat Peh, they explain. So there's the whole thing.
Everything.
I can't
All those
even
stuff,
understand.
all the details. There's nothing without it.
Yeah.
I remember learning somewhere that the way it was given, as I say, Torah Shabbat Peh was given together, and then the Torah Shabbat was like written down pointers as like, to remember, like, like just Roshei Pakim, like, to remember all the details which was given Baal Peh, a summary, yeah. So that's kind of makes sense, like, the thing which was so important, so hashed out Baal Peh, so we just write one sentence and then we remember because it was so important. And something which was not so, so much discussed, like, like the Tzoras, so it written in more details because it wasn't so much, that's my understanding.
So I heard that also with regards to the difference between Mishnah and the Gemara. The Mishnah is, you go to a lecture and someone says a story of, I still remember this from high school, when my teacher explained to us. She said, you go to a lecture and the person tells you a story about a man with a horse. I don't have to write down all the details. I was there. Story of man with a horse, finished. Mm-hmm. But then for the next generation, story of man with a horse means nothing. Then you need the Gemara. So I heard exactly what you're saying, that Mishnah is story of man with a horse, and Gemara now flesh out that story. But Torah Shebechsav, that was, that's God-given. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Versus man.
Yes. God gave it. Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it as going along, as he was teaching the big details. He was writing it along as we're going along. Meaning the first part was Bereshit was probably written because until the point of Matan Torah. But all as we were going along, he was writing down. That's somewhere. But again, I don't have a source, so it just
yeah.
And another little point is that my son was in yeshiva, and they were learning a lot of Mishnah. It's not Gemara right away, and he could went to camp and they were learning Gemara. And he was able to take the test because he had literally all the ideas. Like my big boys were like, we didn't know as much as him at that age. So it's interesting, like exactly, Mishnayos is just all the thing, but usually they jump into it sooner and they don't have all that information. Literally, he understood it like as if he was learning Gemara. I'm saying, but they were extending the Mishnayos much later than most schools. And he went straight into the Gemara, like as if
he had a good base.
He had a very good base. Very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so it's two different components. It's an excellent question. Torah Shebechsav is Torah Shebechsav. That's what we read in Shul, on every, during the week and on Shabbos. So it's, there is a difference between them. What the difference exactly is, we have to talk about. But to think that we could learn Torah and we could suffice with Torah Shebechsav, it's impossible. It's impossible for us to fulfill the mitzvahs of the Torah, the written Torah, without the oral Torah. It comes hand in hand. Maybe it was given in a different way, but we have the godly part and we have the human part, and it comes together. As a matter of fact, it says this in the Gemara that there was a Nasi, his name was Rabbi Yishmael, and he was in charge of the Beis Din, and him with the Beis Din, they established, and they said this and this day is Rosh Chodesh, which would imply the Yom Kippur was on the 10th day after that. There was another great Tana, his name was Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua made his own calculations, and according to Rabbi Yeshua's calculations, it was a day off. And Rabbi Yishmael told Rabbi Yeshua, the day that you think is Yom Kippur, on that day, I want you to travel from your house, and go out of the tchum, right? Go out of the 2000s, amas that you're allowed to go. I want you to carry your stick and your money pouch. Because once the Beis Din proclaimed that this particular day is Rosh Chodesh, which implies that this particular day is Yom Kippur, I don't care how brilliant you are. I don't care if you could prove scientifically, or I don't know, however, that Beis Din is wrong. It doesn't matter. Once Beis Din says, they have the power. That's a great word. They have the power, and now the world has to fit into what the Beis Din established. Yes.
That's why the ribbon has been.
Right. It says Torah is down here. Torah is not in the sky. Torah is not in heaven. Torah was given. Yes, we have the written Torah, but then Torah relies on the Beis Din in every single generation to flesh out what it means. And guess what? In the times of way back then, before they had refrigerators, and before they had electricity, and before they had running water and toilets and everything else, right? So then in every generation, as technology progresses, you need the chachamim of that generation to flesh out what is permissible. Light switches, they didn't have light switches in Moshe's times, right? So in every generation, Hashem gives the sages the power to in every generation to flesh out what the Torah Shebachsav means. And even Chassidus, you have the Torah Shebachsav, and then in every generation you have the Rabbeim who elucidate and explain and show you millions of beautiful stuff on every single word, every letter of the Chumash, of the Torah. It's just so amazing. And Hashem has given the Ruach HaKodesh, the divine inspiration, the power to human beings it says anything that a Talmud, any student that is mechadish anything, that all comes from Sinai. That's why they encourage the kids to write Chidushei Torah. They encourage the kids to write their own essays, their own thoughts, their own ideas, and it gets printed in the yeshiva because everything Hashem gives the power to the individual to extrapolate and to understand so many more things than what is written.
Yeah. The phrase that the Torah Hashem gave Torah to us, like we learned it here. He gave us the Torah. He gave it in our hands that we should be able to do this.
And there's so many things like even
at the pasuk we learned in this chair once, like when Hashem gave, he said something like it's given to us, like the word in that for us to learn the Torah.
Yeah.
Get the teaching that.
And the Torah trusts us and empowers us. I love how, like with Taras and Mishpacha, with family purity, how the Torah trusts the women. Like it's really so special that such a fundamental key is given to the hands of the women, and we trust whatever the woman says.
What's the same in Kashrus in the house?
Kashrus in the house.
It's answerable to say that women are second class citizens.
What is it?
It's answerable to say that women are second class citizens. There's no power. They're
Yeah.
doing things on our end.
Yes, it's fine times they do.
What is the young people women?
And based on the final say on the law.
The goal
They got finalized by what?
So yeah, so
So
that's
what
why
leader of the entire set?
We're supposed to not like
What's the
it's not a job though.
Right.
Right. Be like
Today's halacha is halacha.
something,
That's the
they
question.
don't have how to tell you. Go
That's
to
the
the
question.
you could
So,
say this is my own.
first of all, there is Shivan Parlat Torah. There is 70 different ways to understand Torah, and there are different people that have different opinions. The important thing is not to go rabbi hopping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can't say, oh, this rabbi is lenient on this topic, so I'm going to go to him for this. And then for something else, I'm going to go to a different rabbi because I know that rabbi is lenient in this issue. You have to have a rabbi that you respect and that you're going to follow across the board. Not that I'm going to be, not that.
Somebody starts questioning Yiddishkeit as a whole and then starts rabbi picking on their own.
what do you answer to somebody who says, but this rabbi holds that electric is this? Now, how do you argue back with such an answer?
That what?
They choose to rabbi hop. Because they decided they like that answer more. Now I'm sticking with that mahalach, even though that mahalach isn't necessarily the right mahalach. But I decided that's my rabbi for the rest of my life. Yes, it's easier route, which is probably why they chose them to begin with. But what's the argument in say he decided right now that that's the mahalach he's going on, and that's the durabanan that he's going to go on for the rest of his life, whether it's correct or not. He decided in his head that this durabanan is the correct way.
Okay, so first of all,
Give the person credit for following someone. rather than just-
First of all, there's such a thing as when a Rav tells you something, it doesn't mean it's for your friends.
Right.
So the Rav knows that person, it doesn't have to be a Rav.
That's how it is for you
I mean,
personally.
I know that personally, I really know that personally, where I was even arguing with the Rav, like, what, you said that? You said that? Did you say that? And I'm not so sure
then
he
it
said
makes
that to everyone else.
But then it makes you feel
So
like
that's
it's
me.
not even a luffa, just based on feelings.
You know what I'm saying? But
That's why I say I cannot take over because
And
it's
there's
so
there's
small
one
numbers and
that-
sometimes,
that-
yeah, there is some.
I know, but
Feeling
sometimes you
with-
feel
But
like.
the lucha is so broad and there's so many,
Right.
someone who's really learned, knows where to find the yes,
No,
not
but
to say the no.
sometimes they, it's like stupidity, like I had a friend who called for birth control, whatever, different discussion, and the roof said, okay, like, do you have a baby now? She's 6 months old. Is she cute? Oh, don't you want another? Like, what kind of question? And then she's like, yeah, but we're, okay, fine, call me back in 6 months. Like, what does that have to do with baby's cute or
No,
not?
she's trying to make a connection. It doesn't mean the psak based on that. They may try to make a connection with person. Just
Yeah,
okay.
the whole story.
Yeah, I know.
No, I can give you an example. In the Harris Mishpacha, on the 30th day, we learned according to the Alter Rebbe, that you're halachically allowed to touch, but it's supposed not to touch. So for somebody who's just coming into it from a secular background, you tell them halachically you're allowed to touch. But for us who's coming from a more settled place already, we're taught it's a schus. So yes, there's different rules for different situations.
yeah. Okay, and Taras Mishpacha is a really, really great example. There's someone from my community. I taught a class in Taras Mishpacha, and she said that, okay, no judgment here. She said that she learned that you cannot go to the mikveh with nail polish. So it was too hard for her. So she didn't go. And she told her husband that she went, and she didn't go. And then when I learned with her, I said, of course, if it's a choice, going with nail polish or without nail polish, just go. Hopefully you'll come to a place where you'll be able to take off your nail polish and it'll be okay. So yes, a Rav, it has to be consulted for every situation, and we can't just make a blanket rule, because who are you talking to? Where are they coming from? What's the situation? There's so many things to take into account. And I'll just tell you, this was so touching. Yesterday we had a wedding in our shul. This is the first time we had a wedding. We had brisson, we had upshar nishes, we had bas mitzvahs. We had a wedding in our shul. The kala was 76 years old. And the chassin was 87.
How long were they married?
87?
It's a second marriage. 87. He's 87. He's 11 years older than her. The wedding was in our Chabad house yesterday. Okay. Now, my husband was officiating the wedding. It's an incredible story. My husband's officiating this wedding, so he asked me if I could teach her to go to the mikveh, because that's the only way he could do it, right? So she came. So my husband called me at 11 a.m. and the time was of essence, right? And she was at my door 2 hours later. Thank God, Baruch Hashem, for my Mechatenista Rosie Weinstein, who teaches Kalas all the time. I said, please give me a crash course. I mean, I know, whatever, I haven't taught a Kala in a long time. And in half an hour, she really helped me out from 12:30 to 1 o'clock. The door, the door opens. And here comes Edith. She is 76. I don't know, why am I saying this? Oh, okay. So when you teach a Kala, okay, and there's bedikas and there's things like that, so you have to know what do I need in order for the mikvah to be kosher, and what do I need, and what's I don't want to say the word extra, but I'm saying there's some things that I need that for the mikvah to be valid. If you don't have a hefsek tara and you don't do a b'dika on the first day and the seventh day, the mikvah is not valid. The end is, I told her that there were 15 steps. There were 15 steps in the Beis Hamikdash that the Levium stood on, and every b'dika is another step going closer to the Beis Hamikdash. And then I told her, thank you, Rosie, because there's so much to say. Mikvah is the only mitzvah that's retroactive.
Right.
She started crying. This is her, she says, I have to tell you about myself. She says, I grew up very secular. And I raised my kids very secular. But she has two sons. One actually passed away by COVID. So the older son, I knew I wanted one thing. I wanted him to have a bar mitzvah. So before the bar mitzvah, he went to Hebrew school, whatever it is, and he learned whatever he had to learn. And comes the bar mitzvah, beautiful, beautiful party. And she says, I look at my son, and he is so sad. Which kid is sad by their bar mitzvah? So she says, tell me, why are you so sad? So he says, because after this bar mitzvah, that's going to be the end of my Jewish education. I'm afraid that that's going to be the end of my Jewish education. So she listened to him and she said, do you want to go to yeshiva? And he said, yes. And the next day she took him to yeshiva. And the rabbi, somewhere in Lakewood, he spoke to him. And that very day he put him into a classroom. And he told the mother, come back at 4 o'clock. She came back at 4 o'clock. The kid was overjoyed.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's Lakewood School.
This was a long time ago. The kid was overjoyed, and he said, Ma, these boys are just like me. Today, he was in my shul yesterday because it was his mother who got married. You would never know. He looks like someone who's in a BMG. I mean, the whole thing, the levush, the everything. You would never know. You would never know. And she said, and I took her to the mikvah Motzei Shabbos, and she said, she asked me, can I tell my son? So I said, yes. And at the wedding, he turns to my husband, because I came in, and he says to my husband, is that your wife? So I said, yeah. He's like, please thank her so much for taking her to the mikvah, because it's retroactive for him. He has, I don't know how many kids, and grandkids. And the granddaughter is due any minute. I gave her a shir lamales. My husband put on tefillin with 6 of the people. We gave out like 11 people we gave neshek to. The chassin, I told you he's 87 years old. Yesterday was the first time in his life that he put on tefillin.
To take for what we take for granted. That's what I'm saying. Like, wow, how lucky we are. We were born into this. We were born into it.
So what I'm saying is that sometimes, you have to know who you're talking to. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to say to someone, if you're going to push them away because they don't want to take off their nail polish, maybe because they don't understand or whatever it is, or if you push them away because, you're just like this, or you're you have to, the Rav has to listen to the person, it's not just the question, listens to the person. We had someone in our community who found us the day that her grandfather passed away. And today she is completely from living in Tom's River with 4 children. She has a beautiful yes. She was actually, her story was actually printed in the Tom's River Achtus magazine. And believe it or not, when she was becoming from, she came to our house every single Shabbos to keep Shabbos. The first time her father came with her because he's like, what is this? Why do I have to go eat in someone else's house? Like, that was actually written in the article. Anyway, came Pesach. Her family was having a Pesach Seder, and they were they're a very, very close-knit family. They really, really wanted their daughter to come to their Pesach Seder. My husband told her, the first Seder, you're going to have by us. At that point, she was keeping Shabbos, but she hadn't started keeping Yontif. And he took it on his shoulders. And he said, for the second Seder, let your father come pick you up, take you to the family Seder, and bring you back. And that's against halacha. Hello? How could you say that? How could you say that? But my husband understood that for this family, if she would not show up to the Seder, that would be the end. That would completely break the relationship of her and her family, and it would be a disaster. And can I tell you that I would take that upon my shoulder? I'm sure my husband spoke to other rabbis, but I'm saying sometimes a rabbi will take it upon his shoulders and say, you know what, this is the first holiday that you're starting to keep Shabbos, but you've never kept a Yantif yet. It's the second day of Yantif. Okay, talking about the difference between Deraisa and the Rabbanan. From the Torah, the first day is most important, right? So how did he take that upon himself? But if sometimes you have to be Machal one Shabbos in order to be able to keep many more Shabbosim. How can you allow someone to come to shul in a car or on Shabbos? But that's why it's a very difficult job to be a rabbi. It's not something to take lightly. But again, you're answering the person, not just the question, and you're seeing the whole. You have to look at the whole picture. What's your ultimate goal? This person should become from. If you and at the end of the day, she needed her parents' consent to go to Israel. Her parents didn't let her go to Israel at first, so she was in different seminaries in Brooklyn. But her dream, her goal was to go to Israel, and eventually her parents allowed her to go and helped her. So to burn that bridge for this particular person in this particular situation, it may, in the short term, you would win the battle, but you wouldn't win the war. So you have to look. You have to see the bigger picture, and it takes a lot.
Very important to say yes.
Right.
That has to be learned.
To say no is not a good.
Very interesting. I once called the Rav, big Rav, for another question, and he told me, call Roth, Rabbi Roth. Pestel Roth, because he has bigger shoulders, he has bigger.
Wow.
This was like, there are 2 big people, like.
Yeah.
And he said to me, call. Yeah, so it's interesting. It's a real, like you could take it upon you to say yes or no. It's your achrayas.
It's like a tzaddik gozer and Hashem mekayem.
Yeah.
Same thing. And what the rabbi said.
I also heard this, and this will also blow your mind. I heard of a situation of a woman who she actually asked my husband to write a letter to prove that she's Jewish for the Rabbanut in Israel. And she was nudging and nudging and nudging. And I said to my husband, why can't you just write her the letter? So eventually my husband was very hesitant to write it, but he wrote, as far as I know her, as an adult, I have seen her practice Yiddishkeit, but he did not say that he could attest that from birth she was, Jewish or anything like that. Yeah. Anyway, she took that paper, and I don't know what else she did, and she somehow got the Rabbanut to say that she is halachically Jewish. And she got married. After the fact, we found out that it wasn't so simple. That her mother converted and her status is questionable. And now she herself wants to go for a gear. She herself wants to go for a gear. There shouldn't be any questions. But I heard, I have to verify this, but I heard that once the Rabbanut in Israel declares that you're Jewish, then you're Jewish. If you lied your way to get there, it's a problem. But once they say that you're Jewish, she from her own conscience, wants to go for a gear kalacha. But if she somehow got the system to give her this letter that she is Jewish, then once they say that she's Jewish, she's Jewish. That's what I heard. So
What does that mean? Let's say she's Jewish, like legally.
it is. So in Israel, you have to prove that you're Jewish from the Rabbanut. I myself don't know exactly know what it means, but you have to have proof that you're Jewish in order for the Rabbanut to marry you in Israel. So she had the documentation that she was Jewish. That document itself is questionable, but the fact that she had the document, in a way, it's enough that she wouldn't even need a gear.
Has the
Power.
status of the basement.
Din,
Yeah.
they are Beis Din.
The
The rabbis
yeah.
that you see.
But it's very, very, very interesting. Because we know so many stories that they did have to make the Lechumra because the documentation wasn't bulletproof.
Right.
Documentation.
So a regular person will say, I love you very much, but in order for us to get married, let's do it right. But I'm saying from a dry halachic perspective, it seems like
So we don't know what happened in the Rabbanut, but for after the fact, if they
right.
confirm
Once
it, so
Rabbanut
for after the fact,
confirmed,
we accept the
once Rabbanut confirmed, then this is it.
Your husband was smart because he didn't
He did-
actually say.
Right,
she was
because
about-
he was too
Yeah,
afraid.
he must have.
He was
Yeah.
too afraid
Yeah.
to say, he couldn't say, I can't, he couldn't say
Yeah.
from the birth. Yeah, it's a big deal. But once, so even if, let's say, God forbid, Beis Din, came out later, I don't know, if Beis Din made a mistake, it can't be Beis Din made a mistake. If Beis Din was to make a mistake, the world itself adjusts to what Beis Din says.
Is that with anything?
What is
Is
it?
that with anything? Like, is based in, like, whatever Basin says, that's it?
That's it. That's it.
That's the reasonable wasn't.
So this actually brings us to the second point of what's so special about this mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon. The first point was that we should have to have faith in the written Torah, that the written Torah is one with the oral, that the oral Torah is one with the written Torah. Because how do we see that? Because this mitzvah has no details. And that's why this mitzvah teaches us the authenticity of the oral Torah. That was point one. Point number two, which we're already saying, which we get from this mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon, is as follows. Torah is in charge of nature. And if Torah says something, then nature changes according to the Torah. As an example, it's a hard example to understand, and I'll preface it with a personal story. My son Shmuel Isaac was born 5.5 weeks early, and he failed his hearing test. And we sent us to CHOP when he was 3 months old, and they did a test. And they said, in everyone's ears, there are hairs that are standing up. And in your baby's ears, it's crushed. And there's nothing to do, and he'll probably need, for the rest of his life, a hearing aid or whatever it is. And come back when he's a year old. And the whole time I'm taking care of this teeny tiny baby, and I'm like, does he hear me? Does he not hear me? Does it, I have no idea. Anyway, we come back in September. The August before, a few weeks before, whole long story, my husband lost his tefillin, which belonged to his to his great-grandfather, whose name was Moshe Garari, also was written by the same scribe who wrote the tefillin for the Rebbe Rashab, who was the fifth Chabad Rebbe, and it was priceless tefillin. And he went to a C-Teen extreme trip, and long story short, his suitcase was in the back of a truck, and the truck wasn't closed properly. He lost his suitcase. And long story. Anyway, when I heard this, I took upon myself that I'm going to daven 2 Shemona Esrei a day. Anyway, a week later, it was found, and so for this time period, this is when I took davening back, and then so a month or two later, we come to CHOP, and I bring the baby, I bring Shmuel Isaac, and they said he has no hearing loss whatsoever. How could it be? And they said they were shocked. It can't be that they'll tell you something not good and they'll take it back. It's so rare. There's nothing wrong with him. He could hear, and if he doesn't come right away, you just say ice cream, and he's down the steps. So he could hear, Baruch Hashem. So here you have a story. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. The hairs in his ear was crushed, and then somehow a lot of davening and a lot of good deeds and a lot of whatever, and somehow it's a miracle that it changed. Now this is we see this actually in the Gemara. This is the situation. If there's a girl, the situation is like this: a girl before the age of 3, if there's an accident, or if, God forbid, someone is not acting properly, and the hymen gets, what's the word? Broken, thank you. Up until the age of 3, it will grow back. Once a person is 3, then once it's broken, and there is halachic ramifications for that. Yeah, so she's not considered a basula anymore. She's not considered a virgin if it was broken. So here you have, let's say, a girl, her birthday is Yud Adar. Yud Adar, she turned 3. Then comes Tesvav Adar, and there was an accident. She fell off a tree, I don't know, whatever, and the hymen is broken. It won't grow back because she's already 3. She's 3 and 5 days old, right? Then comes the end of the month, and the Beis Din says, oh, we are deciding that we need to add a month now. We're going to make a Iber Yar. We're going to add a month to make it into a leap year. So now she's not 3 anymore because they just added a new month. So now it's Adar Beis. So it means until Yud, now it's Tesvav Adar Aleph. But until Yud Adar Beis, she's technically not 3.
Wow. Also, she became not 3. She became unfreed.
She became unfreed. And therefore, although medically you could say this is impossible, it's impossible, but according to nature, it's impossible. And they say, look, there was an accident, the hymen is broken, and then all of a sudden the hymen grew back. And what happened in between? The Beis Din decided that we're making a new month. So this is an example of if Torah says, nature has to follow. It seems impossible. It seems impossible. The ears were crushed, and now the baby could hear. It's a miracle. But nature has to listen to Torah. And that's what we learn from Kiddush HaChodesh. We learn that Torah is in charge of nature. And nature has to fit in to what the Beis Din paskins. And the nature has to physically change. And nature and the Beis Din has an effect on the actual physical body. Now we're going to understand what is the connection. Remember we said, when we started off the class and asked the question, we're going to see now, we said, if sanctifying the moon is the first mitzvah, why is Bereishis Bar Elokim written first in the Torah? So now we're saying it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. What's the point of when I'm sanctifying the new moon? What am I saying? What's my message? My message is that Torah is in charge of the world. Torah is higher than the world. Nature has to buckle to Torah. And what's Bereshis Bar Elikim? The same exact thing. Beis Rashis. Hashem created the world for two things: for Torah and for the Yidden. And therefore Torah and the Yidden come before the world. So if Torah says that now now we're adding a new month, then nature has to follow suit.
Let's say it says on day 8 your son should have a bris. So technically every baby should be healthy enough to have a bris, but it's not like that. It's not like one. So, no, she's saying that Torah dictates nature.
But Torah also dictates that if the baby is yellow and if it's going to be a danger to the baby, then we have the health. That baby has to be healthy. But that's a great question. But Torah is balabas over the world.
Because the world was created for the Yidden.
The
The Torah.
So for two things, the Torah was created for. I'm sorry. The world was created for Torah and for the Yidden. And therefore, Torah is more powerful than creation. So let's review. So far, what have we learned? What's so special about this mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon? Number one, we understand the importance of the oral Torah. And number two, we learn the power the power that Torah has over the world, that if Torah says that now is a new month, it doesn't matter. Now it's a new month. Okay, but there's a question with this. We're not done. Because this example of the girl, right? The girl is not a mitzvah. And the girl itself is not a mitzvah. So basically, you're learning something, you're learning the effect of the Kiddush Levana, but we don't yet see how the mitzvah itself, how Kiddush Levana itself, the mitzvah itself demonstrates the purpose, our mission, our purpose, and how it truly is a balabas, how Torah truly is in charge of the world. To give this example of the girl is like a side thing, but we need more. We want more. We want to understand in a very clear way from this mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon. We want to understand and see that Torah, we want to clearly understand and see from this mitzvah a lesson for all of the mitzvahs, how we want to understand how is this mitzvah teaching us about our mission statement? Not just a cause or something that we learn from it, or but let's the mitzvah itself. Okay.
Well, according to what you said, like the Torah followed the nature, right? So I mean, the way I learned that Hashem created the word for us, and then the Torah was writing down according to what we needed as we go. So the thing from this Zot HaChodesh, that's what we see, that the nature will change according to what we need. So
We need to serve Hashem.
to serve Hashem, sure. So the same thing in the halachas that we learn that you mentioned about the mikveh. Like I know the Sephardic community in Flatbush, the rabbi posek they can go with nail polish because it's part of them. Otherwise they will not go. So the Torah adjusts to us because the Torah Baal Peh was
Excellent.
giving after.
Okay, you're saying something amazing. What you're saying is that that the world is created for the Torah and for the Yidden. And that's why Torah and Yidden come first. For example, if you're treating your kid, right? You want to take them to the restaurant, or your husband wants to take you to the restaurant for your anniversary, for your birthday, right? And let's say you're lactose intolerant, right? So let's say you prefer a certain restaurant. If the whole reason why your husband's taking you out is to make you happy. So if you're lactose intolerant, to take you to a dairy restaurant, that's defeating the purpose. And if you specifically want this restaurant, then he's going to take you there because the whole purpose of going out is to make you happy. So if the whole purpose of creation is for Yidden and for the Torah, then Yidden and Torah come first. And the world has to adjust to Torah. Okay, so here's the last incredible thing that we're going to learn. Okay. It says here. Okay, we're going to learn how this mitzvah is the goal and the purpose. We learned about the goal and the purpose of all mitzvahs from this mitzvah. What is the purpose of every mitzvah that we do? To connect to Hashem.
Give Hashem what he wants.
Okay. And to bring, which is one and the same as, to bring holiness into the world. So anytime I come in contact with anything, if I come in contact with a piece of parchment, if I make parchment and I use parchment to write a Torah or mezuzah or tefillin, so now what did I do? I took something physical and I made it holy. So what we're doing our whole life is we're taking physical things, orange juice, cookies, salad, anything physical, make a bracha. We use it for energy to learn Torah, whatever it is, and then we elevate it and we make it holy. Our job in this world is to make physical things holy, right?
Take the mundane and make it holy.
To take mundane things and make it holy, right? Now, what is this mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh? To sanctify the new moon. You know what we're doing? We're sanctifying, we're making holy, we're making time holy. Our whole purpose is to make things holy. But what even comes before making things holy is making time holy. What is it?
Holy. Every second of your day. If time in itself is holy, it means your entire existence is holy. Time is above everything. Time is everything.
So time and space work together. But what comes first, time or space? Time or things? Time. Okay? Time comes first because things, let's say a salad, right? I want to cut up, I'm making a salad. So right now I have tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers in front of me. Come back in 10 minutes. Now there's a change. Before I had vegetables on my counter and now the vegetables are cut up. So, and now I'm making a bracha, now the vegetables became holy. So in things, in space, there has to be before and after. And the only way I can have before and after is I first have to have time. Time is the first creation.
That means time. When? First thing. In the beginning.
Right,
That's
right.
time.
Time is the first thing. It's hard for us to understand that time is a creation.
Right.
But time is the first thing that has to happen. There has to be a before and an after and a present and a past and a future in order for there to be things, right? So basically, what the incredible thing of this mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon is that that since time comes before space, the sanctifying time comes even before sanctifying space or sanctifying things, making things holy. And so from this mitzvah, we learn for all the mitzvahs. Once you learn about making time holy, now the next step is to make things holy. That's why this mitzvah is so fundamental, and that's why it's called first. Okay?
You're saying you need that in order to make things holy, even to make time holy.
Right? Because the only reason why matzah is a mitzvah is because today is Pesach.
Pesach only exists because the month was at a scheduled time, which means that it's not a day early or a day late. It's because the time was sanctified on a specific time. So Pesach is only holy on the 14th day because Rosh Chodesh was right.
Exactly. And there's difference between Shabbos and holidays. For Shabbos, it says Mekadesh HaShabbos. Read it in, when you daven or when you say Kiddush, Mekadesh HaShabbos, sanctifying Shabbos. But when it comes Yantif, it says Mekadesh Yisroel v'Hazmanim. Hashem sanctifies Jewish people and time. Hashem sanctifies us, and then He gives us the power to sanctify time.
Wow.
This is
Yeah.
very wow. Wow.
Yes. Incredible.
And that's why it's so fundamental. Now, usually we mix up time and space. We say, oh, I'm driving 60 miles an hour. So 60 miles, that's space. An hour is time. Or I say, how far do you live from here? Right? So how far away do you live? You know, how many minutes is it going to take me to walk to your house? So there's a distance, there's space, but then there's time. How long will it take me to get to your house? So we mix everything up together because, you know, it works together. But in reality, time comes before space. And time is so special. And therefore, So basically, what we're going to learn is something so incredible, and that is that in the Rambam, when he lists the 613 mitzvahs, he lists and he said, this is the mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon. But then when he goes into the details later on and he talks about sanctifying the new moon, the word sanctify is not there. The word is calculate. You won't find the word mekadesh when he's actually talking about the actual halachos of sanctifying the new moon, because the Rebbe is learning from this something incredible, that it's not just about sanctifying the new moon, but the halachos are so detailed, and it incorporates all of time, every single second of time, and not just that Rosh Chodesh is holy and therefore the Yantif is holy, but every single moment is holy. Why? It's not just that today is the first day of the month, and then what should I do in order to get to Pesach? I need 14 days to go by. No, but those 14 days are also holy, because the Beis Din has to know every single day what the moon has to look like, and now they have to know what the moon has to look like. They have to know the whole cycle of the sun. They have to know everything, all the calculations of the sun and the moon and everything, not just when to be Mekadesh the moon, because this mitzvah exemplifies and highlights sanctifying all of time.
So that means we're sanctifying the moon and the sun.
Yes, and every single minute. And that's why time is so, it's not just, time is so precious. And
you say you're going to be there somewhere. Be there.
Yeah, time is a big.
Because that time is so specific.
Exactly. We say b'sha'at tova, the baby had a good time. It's not just not just, I happen to need 9 months in order for the baby to be born. But every minute in the womb, and especially if I have a premature baby, every single day before the 9th month is another day in ICU. End of story. I have to have 2 preemies, so I experienced it.
It's important that it was supposed to be born at that time.
Yes, and that's another story, because the same child, Shmuel Isaac, who had the hearing loss, we thought had the hearing loss, he was born 5.5 weeks early, and because of that, we didn't have our second hearing with the township. Because the township said that if you had the baby early, then for personal reasons, you could push off the hearing, and we never had the hearing, which would have drained us of all of our all of our money, which is what their plan was, whatever. But I'm saying, yeah, he had to be born 5.5 weeks early. But yeah, everything is at exactly.
It reminds me of whatever says that a person who gives tzedakah, and from what he earns, from what he works the whole day, his entire workday becomes.
Yes, yes,
This is what it
yes.
said.
Yeah. So that's in space. In space, if I give a meiser, if I give a fifth, then I am sanctifying all of my money. If you bring a carbon, right, then you're sanctifying all of the animals, all that species, all the animals, and that's what's so incredible. The fact that we're here, what took for you to be here at this class? You needed clothes. Where were those clothes made? All that is sanctified by the fact, all the factory of that made the button of the sweater that you're wearing is sanctified if you're wearing that button at the shear. And how did you get here? Which vehicle? The car, the motor, every piece of that car is all elevated because you used your car to get here. So when we do a mitzvah, we can't even imagine all the things that are elevated because we're here. A carbon, you brought a little bit of flour for a mincha offering, that elevated all the vegetation in the entire world. Because it's not just a mitzvah, it doesn't just, when you do a mitzvah, not only are you bringing that thing to its potential, but rather it's affecting the entire world. And the same is with, and we learn all this from Kiddush HaChodesh. All I need to know is today. All I need to know is when I should observe Rosh Chodesh. And today, all I have is, and today I have a calendar in my drawer that could tell me the information. But all those calculations at the base, I have to know every detail about the cycle of the moon and the cycle of the sun. As a matter of fact, the Rambam says that although we go by the moon, we count our years by the sun, but we don't count our years by the sun. Why does he say that? Because he wants us to understand that the Kiddush HaChodesh, the sanctifying the new moon, that it includes every single aspect, every single moment of time is all elevated and all becomes holy because of this one mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh. And that's why time is so important. I remember my daughter, her bas mitzvah was during COVID, and we were thinking, maybe we should push it off till after COVID, even though we didn't know when COVID would end, and then we could have the party like everyone else. But she said, Ma, I want to have my bas mitzvah on my birthday. There's something about your birthday. You push it off a week, a month, whatever it is. It's not the same. A bas mitzvah, that day is the day. Yeah, exactly. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Yeah. And the fact that we light Shabbos candles on time and the value of time. There's so many lessons. There's so many lessons about time, but the incredible thing about thing about this mitzvah is that it teaches us the mitzvah itself. Not that there's a byproduct, there's a girl that it will help her, but the mitzvah itself teaches us our mission, our purpose, our goal, our mission on this earth is to make everything holy. And where does it start? It starts by sanctifying time, because time comes even before space. And we have to realize that every single thing, the house that we're learning in, the windows, the doors, the builder, the food, his lunch, the lunch of the builder, everything is elevated. The lunch of the builder is elevated now that we're sitting in a house that he built and we're learning here. How much is what is it? That connects to space.
Right.
That connects to space. So just like with space, it's not just like with space, all the details, all the millions and billions of details that got you to be here, all that is elevated. The same thing is with Kiddush HaChodesh. By sanctifying the new moon, not only sanctifying the moon, but you're sanctifying all of time and every single second of time and the time that's in between the holidays. Is that a random Tuesday, a random Monday? There's no such thing. Every single moment
It's all part of the.
It's all part of the calculation. It's all part of the mitzvah. So every single moment is intrinsically holy. It's not just a moment that is building up to something else, not just, oh, I need 9 months in order for this baby to come, but every single moment is important for the baby's development. Something's happening at every single moment. Every single moment is so special. So there's no such thing, and this, we shouldn't waste time, whatever it is, but every single moment is holy. And it's our job to bring that out, to reveal how every moment is holy through using every moment properly and using every moment for Hashem. And we see that when, when we wake up in the morning, what do we have? We have time. We have a day. And then the question is, what are you going to fill it up with?
Yes.
Right? So time is, and if I don't have time, then I can't do anything. Right? If a person's not here, if you don't have time, then you can't accomplish anything. So Baruch Hashem, wake up in the morning, we say, thank you Hashem for giving me a new day. Thank you Hashem for giving me time. And I am going to use every minute of this day to make everything holy, to express and to prove that every minute is truly holy and truly precious. And all that is what we learn from this mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon. So we learn 3 things. Number 1, from this mitzvah, we learn the importance of the oral Torah, because in the written Torah, there's no details about how to sanctify the new moon. Second of all, we learned the power of Torah. First of all, how the Torah was given. The Torah was given. First of all, how the Torah was given. The Torah was given in a way that we have to have the oral Torah to help us understand the written Torah. Then the second thing that we learned is the power of Torah. That Torah could change nature, and that what Beis Din says that is the most powerful thing, and that we learn from this mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh that the Beis Din, whatever they say, that's what goes. Whatever they sanctify, that's what goes, and the world has to fit into that. And then the third thing that we learned is that this mitzvah highlights and proves and shows that our whole entire mission. Our whole entire mission of this world is to make things holy. And where does it start from? It starts from this mitzvah, and that's why it's the first mitzvah, most fundamental mitzvah, because in order to sanctify things, first the time has to be sanctified. And it's not just that the Rosh Chodesh is sanctified. Not only is Rosh Chodesh holy, not only is Yantif holy, but the mitzvah incorporates the sun and the moon and every single detail of the cycle of everything. And they have to know, the Beis Din have to know all of it. And so the every single minute is part of the calculation to figure out when Rosh Chodesh is, and therefore all of it is part of the mitzvah, and therefore every single moment is actually sanctified, and it's our job to reveal how it truly is holy. Okay, it was a very difficult teaching.
Fire as the kids.
Oh my gosh.
Fire.
And I don't know that
After we can,
Hopefully.
no matter how many times,
There's
I'm not
enough
left with a less.
Sometimes you say constant loop
That's
shit,
it,
right?
that's
That's
how
how
they
you
are.
on music.
No, but this is a very hard sikha. This is a very hard teaching.
there's no
I learned it with my husband last night. I listened to Rabbi Shishler twice. I took an endless amount of notes. I listened to my husband a recording from Beis Rivka, and I came with the prayer on my lips, Hashem, and I wrote to the Ayel. But if you yeah, thank God. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem, and thank you, Siri. Is what?
So if you go to secretary and boys have to.
I no. I thought Tanya was the hardest.
So you have to try to go like that for the next.
Oh my gosh. It wasn't me, trust me. I need my husband and the classes.
So.
Thank you, Hashem, and thank you, Siri, for hosting us. And that's why once Monday at 1:00 is designated as a time of Torah study, it has to. We could add more. We could add more, but this is holy. This is holy, and we can't stop. You could add. Ma'ilin Kodesh. We could have more classes. You could have more and more classes, but this is holy. This is holy time. We need Bela 100%.
In addition.
Yes, Emirtz Hashem. Okay, thank you for coming on this journey.
Thank you, Connie. It was awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's very, very late. Okay. Usually it's a little easier. Okay. Thank you, Risa. Thank you, Kami. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you,
wonderful, wonderful
Connie.
day. Okay.